Hi there and welcome back to our Plasticity series. So this is the second part. If you want to watch the first part, you can do that in the upper right corner if you want. And this time we are continuing modeling our watch with the watch face, the crown, as well as some details here and there. And then we are going to convert it into polygons at the end. So without further ado, let's grab your coffee and let's jump right in. Welcome to the What's Up section, where I tell you about my life behind the scenes. This week not a lot has been going on, so let's enjoy some B-roll of the watch. I initially recorded this last week, but the recording of the actual tutorial took so long that I didn't have time to ingest and grade it properly. So enjoy it for now. Also, as I said last week, it's always a good thing to have a caliper at hand and use it on your real-world objects so you get the right measurements to ingest in your 3D program. I think that's all. Let's actually continue modeling in Plasticity. And welcome to Plasticity Land, and where we left off, you can see here I have a new shortcut table. Because last time I edited that in on the lower left corner and that was a lot of work that I wanted to avoid. So hopefully that works out great. Let's just continue where we left off last time. So last time the last action was to do the bezel and thicken the window, or crystal as it's called professionally. So let's select the crystal, solo it by hitting the dot on the keyboard, and you can see we did a thickness of 2 millimeters. And after the fact, I thought this might be a little bit thick. So let's reduce it by 0.5 millimeters by selecting the lower face and moving it up by set value. Something like that. Enter to confirm and then go out of solo by hitting the dot again. What I want to do next is make the bezel a little bit more accurate to our real world object. If you solo it, you can see it's going right through the object, which is not the case in reality. Also, if you look at the top-down image, you can see that the glass rests on some sort of ledge on the bezel. So let's recreate that. First of all, let's select the gray material again because it makes the editing steps a little bit more visible. Then move a little bit closer to the upper inner edge of the bezel, select it, and then introduce you to a new command, which is O for offset. To type in the offset amount, let's hit D for distance and then -3. This will become the ledge our glass will rest on. So to do that, we need to respect the thickness of the glass. So let's select the upper edge again, O for offset, and now we go with the thickness of the glass, which is 1. And to give it a little bit more air in between so we don't have intersections, let's go with 1.1. To now actually create the ledge, let's select the face between our offsets that we just made, extrude it 1.5 millimeters, hit enter to confirm, select the newly created upper edge of the ledge, and chamfer it 1 millimeter. Here we go. If we look at this now, what we don't need is the whole lower part of the bezel. So let's go into the side view by hitting 1 on the number pad, and we have the end of our bezel here. To cut off the lower part of the object exactly at this position, we are going to implement a line, snap it here, drag it out, go to the point select and shift click on it so we get this point here, select that one and hit G for grab and then move that to the whole other side of the watch, hit enter to confirm. Now you probably know what we are going to do, so select the line, then the object next and hit C for cut, enter to confirm. And now we can delete the lower part of our bezel. If we go outside of side view, you can see what we've done here. Now, if we unsolo, by the way, you can also click up here to do that, and then solo the outer watch case by hitting the dot on the keyboard. You can see that the edge here is rather thin. To make it thicker, let's select the inner face. Unfortunately, we can't just drag here because of the circular nature of our surfaces that is still respected. So what we need to do is duplicate the face by hitting Shift D, then select this new face, and then what we are going to do is the thicken command here and thicken it by 2 millimeters. And now you can see that it doesn't respect the outer boundary here anymore and goes straight in, which in this case is actually what we want. If you paid attention, you know that we have an intersection between the solid we just created and the bezel. So first of all, delete the sheet we used to thicken. Then select the top face of our newly created solid. Go outside of isolation. Now we isolated twice. We want to go outside of it. Then hide the case here. And now what we can do is move the face here, and by holding down Control, snap it to the exact bottom of our bezel. To bring this operation home, let's re-enable the case and select it, and also select the inner solid we just created, hit QQ to union, and then hit enter to confirm. If we now solo that, you can see we have a non-intersecting inner part of the watch. While we are at it, let's create the watch face. To do so, let's select the inner edge here, then hit Shift D to duplicate and create a line from that. Then highlight the inner part and select it and move it down 2 mm, 0.2 millimeters I mean. Enter to confirm, and what we can do is just delete the newly created curve again. Here we go. If you have a look at the original watch face, you can see a small window to show the date. Let's also create this in our model. So what I'm going to do is hit 7 on the numpad to go into top view. Then for the window, create a center rectangle and go to the middle here, drag it out and go tab 3, tab 3.5. Let's hit G to grab it and move it to the side 10.7 millimeters. Here we go. Let's move out of top view, select the rectangle, extrude a solid, enter. Select the watch face first, then the solid, and then hit Q to bool, enter. Also, we can delete the rectangle now. And that concludes the watch face, so let's go out of isolation and talk about the Watchback. In the original, the Watchback has a window where you can see the movement through. I'm not going to model the whole movement here, though I want to pay respect to the design and make the same shape. In the beginning of the first video, we made some circular shapes here. So what I'm going to do is turn on the 25 mm diameter curve, then select that as well as the case back. Go into solo mode yet again by pressing dot on the keyboard. Go to top view, 7 numpad. Then let's cut again by hitting the curve first, then selecting the case back, hit C and then enter. The next thing you're probably never going to see in the final render as it's inside of the watch, so let's select the top face of the inner part and move it -1 millimeter. Then select the inner edge of the outer part and then bevel that 1 millimeter on the one side, and we have to deselect the lock here and -2 on the other side. Hit enter and that is it. Let's go out of isolation and isolate the outer watch case, as we are going to do a couple of operations there. First of all, let's go to the side view again, numpad 1. If we have a look at our original watch from the side, you can see those lugs, basically the arms of the watch, are cut off from the bottom to make it more comfortable to wear. So let's do the same to our model. To do so, let's create another line and drag it across from one side to the other. If you have problems with snapping, we can increase the snapping radius so it snaps to larger increments like this. Enter, then select the watch and then hit C one more time, enter. Now we can select the cut off lower parts and delete them. Let's get rid of the last sharp edge that meets with our arm here and select those newly created edges there. Let's introduce you to a new set of keystrokes. B is for bevel. And D is again for distance. So if you hit BD, you can type in the value without dragging anything. And here we are going to type in 3. Looking at the outcome, comparing it to our original watch, I think those edges are a little bit far away from the end of the lug. So what I'm going to do is select the face on all of 4 sides here and then move it down. We need a little bit more precision for this, so let's go with 0.1 millimeter again and go with 0.5 millimeters moving down. This now again looks much closer to the original. For the next operation, let's go into side view again. And now I'm happy to announce that we are finally at the stage where we can begin modeling our crown. To do so, let's get the center circle and move it to the middle of our watch case. Drag it out by 3 millimeters, so tab 3, enter. Also select the corner rectangle tool, then drag a corner rectangle out here with the width of 3 and the height of maybe 6. Next, let's select all of those faces here, go into perspective mode for a second and drag those out 0.5 millimeters, enter. Then of course select the watch case and the solid we just created and hit Q for Boolean and Boolean this out. Something like this. Let's turn off the rectangle since we don't need it anymore. Select the circular face and move it in 3 millimeters. Here we go. Hit enter. Select the face yet again and move it out 5 millimeters. Here we go. Enter. Now we have to do a lot of things to the outer crown here. The best way to do that is to go into side view, numpad 3, then grab this part by hitting G and move it down to the axis here. By control clicking, you can snap it directly on it. Here we go. Since we are only interested in this for now, we can hit the dot again and move into a double isolation, so we just see this one here. If we look at the original crown, you can see two things. One, the diameter obviously is bigger and it has a rounded end cap. To get the correct diameter is rather easy. We select the circular face here. And then if you remember the dimension command, so F and our shortcut dimension here, we can type in 6.5. To make the end slightly rounded off, what I'm going to do is take a sphere and drag it out here and then tap and hit 15. Then what we're going to do is select the sphere and move it. So grab and move. So the end of it is at the same height as the end of our crown. Then select both again and we're going to of course make a Boolean operation here, so Q, and we're going with the intersection, enter. Also a key aspect of a crown is its serration, to have some grip to move it. So what we're going to do is switch to the front view by hitting the 1 on the numpad. The best way to do that is move close here and then go to the corner rectangle tool and make a rectangle that is 0.4 by 0.3. Select one of the upper points and delete it, then grab the other one with G and move it to the middle. Then what we want to do is grab the curve and then scale it by 2. So S and then type in 2. If that doesn't work, type it in here. Here we go, enter. If we go into perspective, you can see that the object actually has been created at the scene origin. So let's select it and hit G one more time. Go to the Y-axis here and move it forward while holding Control to snap it to the back of the ground. Of course, everything repeats all the time, so what we're going to do is select the face here and extrude it. And this is a very specific number. We are going with 4.15. You probably know what's coming, the radial array. But before we do that, let's select the upper edge of the triangle and bevel it by 0.1. And while this is still selected, let's actually go with the radial array here. So we need to set a center, which is conveniently this one here, and then go with a very high number, which is 40. And here we go. Again, while everything is selected, let's select the middle ground again by shift selecting that and then hit QQ to unionize all of it. If we look at our original crown again, it looks slightly different. We have a slope at the front serration and also here in the back. Let's go to the side view again, number pad 3, and what we're going to do now is with curves again. What I want to do is move very close to the upper bit here, then make the grid snap even smaller, like this. I know the next couple of steps might be a little bit confusing, but bear with me, they all make sense in the end. So let's go to the line tool and create a line right into this corner here. So let's do so. If we're trying to do, you can see there's a couple of snapping points in our way. So actually hit escape and turn off object snapping and do this whole thing again. So here we go. And now you can see it's working quite well. Next, I want to shoot off here in an angle. Whenever you have numbers at your screen, you can enter them while pressing tab. 1 is the length and 2 is the angle. I want to go with 110 degrees here. I want to sort of do the same thing on the other side, so let's move there. Line tool again, move one section to the right, and then down, again double tap. I don't think that's what Zombieland meant with double tap, but anyway, here we are, 110, and then make it a little bit longer here and then hit enter. Now what I'm going to do is go to the line tool again and connect those edges. For this, we're going to enable object snapping again. It doesn't have to be pretty. Let's do this on the other side as well. Here we just have to produce one line like this. Now let's go into perspective mode, select both of those faces, go into our menu and hit revolve, and then select a axis here like this. And now we have two new objects. Of course, those will not exist for long, so let's select our crown and then the objects, and then hit Q, enter. And now you can see we have a nice crown. Now, if you want to go really fancy, you can stick your initial letter on the front side of it. The easiest way to do that is to select the front face and then go plane from selection. This looks like a side view right now, but basically is the view from the selection plane. Let's go with the text tool, so F text, and then go text. And this is a little bit big, so let's make it smaller first, 0.004, I already know the size. Then go with your first letter here, -R, and then search for a nice font. Those are special cat fonts, so none of your installed system fonts will show up here. I already know that I want to go with the BioRhyme because it's rather fancy. Let's hit OK. And then hit G for grab to move it to the right place. This is a little bit of a back and forth. I think something like this is good. Hit enter to confirm and then go with a new command, which is imprint. So what we need to do is select the main object first and then the curves, then hit Shift I. And if we go into perspective mode, you can see now the R is imprinted into the surface. As always, hit enter to confirm. Let's get rid of all of these splines here real quick by turning them off and then select the R here. If we just grab the handle and move it out, you can see it's getting distorted, and this is because the front part is part of a sphere. Let's hit escape since this is not what we want. There's an easy trick though. We can just hit G for grab and then move it at the axis where we want it, 0.2 millimeters for example. Let's hit enter to confirm and then marvel at our initial letter inside of the crown. There's two more things I want to do to this crown. For one of them I need to go to the front view again, so let's hit 1 on the numpad. And what I want to do is select all of those edges here. So let's go into edge mode. If you can remember the shortcut BD, then 0.2. And this gives us a nice rounded look. Let's confirm, go into 3D view, and then let's go out of isolation here. Let's move the crown back into place by hitting G, then move it up, hit Ctrl and snap it to the old part here. Enter. The last thing I want to do is select all of those edges. Remember, the selection has a direction. This time we want to select to the left, and remember the shortcut BD, and then 0.075, enter. This makes the inner parts of the crown also slightly rounded. Let's also select the second crown piece here and union them QQ, so we have one crown. Nice. Let's actually go out of isolation here, and now we have a nice watch with a crown. In the beginning of the video, I thought that modeling this object wouldn't take that long, and then therefore rounding and exporting would be a part of this video. Now, after going through all of this, I'm a little bit smarter and I will actually branch off the rounding and export part into an extra video. To give you some sense of the look of the rounded watch, you're looking at it right now, and you can see how much nicer it looks with some bezels on it. Probably rounding and exporting would have pushed the video over the 40-minute mark, which I think is too much for a video, at least for a tutorial. So I hope you're patient with me and wait for the next part. And this more or less abruptly ends our video, so let's thank those people who made it possible. Of course, as always, my Patreons. Especially my €50 tier subscribers, Shields Augustinen and Leon Studio TV. Also, of course, a huge thank you for my €15 tier subscribers, Doi Jim. For the Thieves, Render King, Alessandro Bonchio, Alessio De Vecchi, Ami Shitreat, BVR, Christian Grajewski, Erbe Plus Akademie, Joel Muckemer, John Edward, Chris Clemson, Ness Graphics, Nico Straub, Part 1 of 2, Ralf, Reiko, Reshock, Shamus Johnson, Shiro 2049, Terry Wayne Ranson, and Yassin Rupp. Welcome to the Crownmaker After Show party. It's again rather late here, so this is also the reason why I opted to push the next part to another video. I also hope that you liked this video as you did the last, and of course learned something from it. So in the next video we will be doing a little bit of fixing and all the rounding and exporting. And then after that it's shading time. And this is it for this week. If you want to help me against the algorithm overlords, let's post what else? A crown. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you an amazing start into this week, and if you're watching this later, a fantastic time ahead. Now without further ado, thank you again and happy watchmaking. Bye.